Welcome, everyone, to Behind the Crime Door. I'm so glad to see you this evening. Thank you, Maria, for making it, and Annie. You know how much I love you guys. Hi, Sling and League. Welcome back. Hi, Chihuahua. I'm glad you made it tonight. I know you missed the other night, but I'm hoping you got to see the replay. Welcome, Fig Mutant Solves. Hi, TTM Fangirl. How are you? AJ, welcome, my dear. So glad to see you that you made it. Hi, Country Girl. RJ Primary, always good to see you. Hi, Lipsha Morrissey. Good to see you as well. Welcome, Diane. Hey, Grizz, how are you? It's good to have you here. Thank you, Chihuahua. That was a really that was a hard show and a hard video to do, but I'm glad I did it. So I don't know how many of you have heard any of the news today, but one of the things that I wanted to go over, and I'm going to try and share my screen, so give me a minute here. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to go over with you tonight is what happened in court today for Kagan Klein. There was a motion for continuance that was filed by his attorney on February the 10th. And today was his court date for his pretrial hearing. And instead of that, they granted the motion for continuance. You can see that right here. And they went to schedule the hearing. And he had a pretrial conference rescheduled from the 24th to the 14th of April, but then that was also rescheduled here back to the 21st, it looks like, and then it was rescheduled again to the 1st of September. So right now, the way things stand is he's supposed to have a pretrial hearing on the September the 1st at 10 a.m., and then the trial has been scheduled for the 26th of September at 8 a.m., and I believe that they have it until the 3rd of October is what they've scheduled it for, the 4th. So that it's a jury trial scheduled through the 4th of October, starting on the 26th of September. So I thought when I saw this morning that this was pretty substantial. That's a big pushback. And I know the courts have some backlog because of COVID, but I don't think that's what we're looking at here at all. I think that there is a strategy and a strategic thing happening here as to why the state is allowing and not fighting these continuances. So I thought maybe we could just discuss that a little bit and see what everyone else is kind of thinking here. But when you go back, and I mentioned this to you guys before, since Kagan was arrested on August 19th, 2020, he has continued and asked for a continuance at every single court appearance that he has had. Every single one. So I really think that that's important to kind of understand what may or may not be going on here. Obviously, he's getting time served while he's incarcerated. So for him, in the state of Indiana, it's 2 for 1. So he gets credit for 2 days for every 1 day that he spends in jail, even before the trial the trial begins. So that may be part of his strategy, that, he's trying to do this. But I would say, part of me wants to think that this could be related to a couple of things. If he does know something, and he is actually helping behind the scenes, this could be one reason why this is being strung out, so to speak. He possibly doesn't want out if he does know this person. Maybe he's fearful of them or something to that degree. That could also be what's at play here. So I was a little surprised, not surprised that it was continued, but surprised for how long of a stretch that they continued it for. So I'm hoping that Maria is right, and this could be a very good sign that he maybe is cooperating behind the scenes. So we can hope for that for sure. But I don't think we're going to be hearing much about him anytime soon, it sounds like. So I wanted to obviously talk about that. I wanted to talk about a couple of other things as well with you. I want to show a quick video. Hold on one second. Stop that and show this video. I thought that this could help to explain a couple things about the sketches that we were talking about the other evening. And I just thought it was kind of an interesting, it's a short video. It's not too long. So let's take a look at it.
Recognize this face? Most people probably do, but try describing it from memory.
Kind of like a taller head.
Does he have brown eyes?
They're not exactly deep set.
Green eyes?
Bland features. I don't remember, any dimples or moles.
Ben Affleck's nose.
Not flat, but not super pointy either.
So this is the challenge faced by police sketch artists. They interview victims and witnesses about a criminal's face, and their drawings go out to the public with the goal of soliciting tips.
Take a good look at that sketch.
If that man looks familiar.
If you have any information, you're asked to call Metro Crime Stoppers.
We wanted to know how accurate these sketches are, and if there might be a better way to put those memories onto paper. There really isn't any good data on how often a sketch helps police catch a criminal on the loose, but by the looks of it, more often than not, they don't achieve a very strong likeness. There are certainly some notable exceptions, like this sketch made of Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, or cases where the suspect has a really distinctive look, but mostly, they're kind of a shot in the dark. In academic experiments, sketches were identified correctly only around 8% of the time. Now that's arguably better than nothing, but there are also risks to putting out a bad sketch. This man served 12 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, after someone said he looked like the sketch of a rapist, and then the victim wrongly chose him from a lineup. Here's why this is so hard. Psychologists have long known that we process human faces holistically, rather than on the level of individual features. Here's an example. Take a look at this photo. Now, which of these is the mouth that you saw? Generally, people are worse at getting this right than if the mouths are shown in the original facial context. Or try this. Are the top halves of these faces the same? How about these? We're generally quicker to answer when the halves are misaligned than when they're aligned, and that suggests that it's difficult for us to focus on just one part of the face. The rest of the face tends to interfere. So our brains aren't well suited to describe individual facial features, but that's typically what victims and witnesses are asked to do. And that's been the fatal flaw for many of the attempts to improve upon the hand-drawn sketch, dating back to the 1960s when police tried using these mechanical kits of interchangeable features.
Picture puzzles to put mugs in the jug.
Then came computer programs that were slightly more customizable, but they still relied on feature-by-feature reconstruction.
Just like Mr. Potato Head.
In laboratory tests, these systems perform pretty badly. But the latest generation of computer programs seems more promising. This system was developed by psychologists at the University of Winchester in the UK, and it makes use of the fact that we're good at recognizing faces but bad at recalling their parts. After the victim or witness specifies the gender, age, and race, it presents randomly generated faces instead of individual features. And all the person has to do is choose a few faces that most resemble the suspect. Using what's called a genetic algorithm, those faces then get bred together and a new set of faces appears. They can also adjust holistic variables like attractiveness. When they tested this program in the lab, participants were able to generate these celebrity faces from memory. And when they tried it in 5 real police departments, it led to arrests around 40% of the time on average and up to 60% in the most recent trial. For example, this composite helped police catch a man who raped 2 women in Manchester. Someone called in after they recognized the image as a local fast food worker. Nearly half of violent crimes go unsolved in the US, and that includes around 60% of rapes. Sketches are easy to poke fun at, but they've been one of the only tools detectives have in the absence of other evidence. So it's good news that in the future, they might be slightly less of an art and more of a science.
So yeah, guys, I thought that was a really good video that would help to explain better, at least in my opinion, what we were discussing the other night about how police artists generate those sketches and how difficult it is and how unreliable eyewitness testimony is. Because there has been so many studies done on eyewitness testimony, and I was speaking today with a very close friend of mine who is a judge, and he was talking to me about, he's talked to me about it many, many times, but he told me that one of the worst things to have to deal with in a trial is eyewitness testimony, because it is just not reliable. So I think that with everything that we know about that kind of information, and when we try to place it within the Delphi case, it leaves a lot open to who saw what when, and when did they report it? When did they come forward? Because I think that there's been a lot of talk about this witness saw this guy, this witness heard these people. You know, we've talked a lot about flannel shirt guy. We've talked about the couple under the bridge. We've talked about what Cheyenne and her friend saw or didn't see. Were they even there that day? The 15-year-old girl that was standing by the Freedom Bridge entrance, and what did she see? I think it leaves everything up in the air. I think, you know, none of us have had any confirmation from law enforcement about any witness and what eyewitness testimony is out there. We know nothing. So for us to try to surmise what that may be or build theories off of that, I think it's going to lead us down paths we don't really want to go. So when we look at the sketches, we know for sure that Kelsey told us in an interview that the second sketch came from technology and recent information. And so to me, I'm going to rely on what Kelsey says, because I have no reason to believe that Kelsey would not tell us the truth. I am a full proponent and stand behind the families in this case. I think everybody knows that by now. And so I believe her. Now, what law enforcement tells the families or doesn't tell the families, I think, again, a lot of people think the families know more than we do. They may, but I believe if they do, they have been told not to talk about it. And I also think that it's important for us to understand why that is. If you're out there saying, well, why don't we have more information in this case? Because it could actually damage this case. There's a lot of things going on in social media right now that I am frightened about that's hurting this case. We have people out there putting out misinformation. They're acting like they're law enforcement. They're acting like they know more than law enforcement knows. These people have no business talking about the case in this manner because they are not law enforcement. They're not trained in law enforcement. They have no idea what they're talking about. They don't know the evidence that law enforcement has. But yet they want to act like they know what's going on. And so it does a disservice because when this trial happens with Bridge Guy, and I do believe that it will, when it happens, he's going to have a defense attorney. And that defense attorney is going to turn to what has been put out on social media, and he's going to use it to his benefit. And he is going to stand up there and he's going to tell this jury that there's a lot of people on social media that believe this guy did it, this guy did it, this guy did it. So my client, beyond a reasonable doubt, you can't convict him. People need to realize that this isn't a game. This isn't a game of Clue, sitting around the table with your friends, drinking beer and shooting the shit. This is an absolutely real life scenario with real players and real dead children. And this isn't some entertainment. I just don't understand why people think that they should be able to come into a case like this and make it entertainment. And people follow it. That's what's so scary. I mean, you look at it and you're just like, what the heck? I think that the new technology that they happened upon obviously led them to the to whatever it was that caused them to put the sketch out. The sketch was done on the 17th of February, 2017. 3 days after the girls were found. Now, I know that there's people out there saying that there was phenotyping DNA done on this sketch. There is absolutely no way. I'm a medical professional, and I know for a fact that there's absolutely no way that they could have DNA ran and done by that in that time frame. So that's my point of view on that. Now, did they do it later down the road? Perhaps. But I doubt it. And the reason that I doubt it is that if you listen to the HLN news special that we just heard a week and a half ago, Mr. Foles talks on that about, yes, he believes that they have DNA, but he believes it's a mixture. And what that means is that they have, this crime scene was horrific. And what that leads me to believe is that there was a lot of blood. And if we think about the girls and the manner in which they may have possibly died, that works for me as far as there may have been a lot of blood there. So if there was, and they have a mixture of his blood and the girl's blood, they're going to have more of their blood than they're going to have of his. And so with that, when you have that kind of a mixture, it's really, really hard to do DNA testing with it. And it just kind of muddies it and makes it difficult. They are able to do a lot more nowadays than what they could do, say, 5 years ago, but still, it makes it difficult. So we just need to keep that keep that in the backs of our minds. I pulled up I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me a minute. I pulled up this website because Parabon Nanolabs is one of the only labs in the country that does genetic genealogy and DNA phenotyping, and they are they're really out there a lot, and they talk to us about this. So I wanted to go over the phenotyping with you, and it talks about what is the DNA phenotyping. It's the prediction of physical appearance from DNA. It can be used to generate leads in cases where there are no suspects or database hits to narrow suspect lists and to help solve human remains cases. They have used it extremely successfully. So DNA carries the genetic instruction set for an individual's physical characteristics, producing the wide range of appearances among people, and by determining how genetic information translates into physical appearance. It is possible to reverse engineer DNA into a physical profile. Snapshot reads tens of thousands of genetic variants or genotypes from a DNA sample and uses this information to predict what an unknown person looks like. Over the past 4 years, using deep data mining and advanced machine learning algorithms in a specialized bioinformatics pipeline, Parabon, with funding support from the U.S. Department of Defense, developed the Snapshot Forensic DNA Phenotyping System, which accurately predicts genetic ancestry, eye color, hair color, skin color, freckling, and face shape in individuals from any ethnic background, even individuals with mixed ancestry. Because some trials are partially determined by environmental factors and not DNA alone, snapshot trait predictions are presented with a corresponding measure of confidence, which reflects the degree to which such factors influence each particular trait. Traits such as eye color that are highly heritable are not greatly affected by environmental factors. They are predicted with higher accuracy and confidence than those that have lower heritability. These differences are shown in the confidence metrics that accompany each snapshot trait prediction. So, how does DNA phenotyping work? Well, whereas traditional DNA forensic matches STRs from a sample to a known suspect or a database, DNA phenotyping can generate new leads about an individual even if they have not previously been identified in a database. Now, I think that's extremely important because if we remember what Kim Riley told us very early on when he was interviewed by Michael Catt, when Michael asked him specifically whether or not they had DNA, he replied they did, but he also said that they had a serious problem because it appeared that this individual or perpetrator had never committed a crime before. And that leads us to believe that he's not in any database, at least any database that law enforcement would have him in. DNA phenotyping takes advantage of modern SNP technology to read the parts of the genome that actually code for the differences between people. The snapshot DNA phenotyping system translates SNP information from an unknown individual's DNA sample into predictions of ancestry and physical appearance traits, such as skin color, hair color, eye color, freckling, and even face morphology. And each phenotype prediction is made with a measure of confidence, including those that can be excluded with high confidence. The recent advances in genomic technology have made it practical and affordable to read the sequence of millions of pieces of DNA from a small quantity of sample This data capture a large portion of the genomic variation between people and thus contains much of the genetic blueprint that differentiates people's appearances. These SNP genotypes can then be paired with phenotypes from thousands of subjects to create a genotype and phenotype data set for analysis. And it kind of says, well, what does all of that mean? But let's go on and look at some of the success stories. This case was solved in Rockingham County, North Carolina in 2012. It was a double homicide. In the early hours of February 4th, 2012, Troy and LaDonna French were gunned down in their home in Reidsville, North Carolina. The couple awoke to screams from their 19-year-old daughter, Whitley, who had detected the presence of a male intruder in her second-floor room. As they rushed from their downstairs bedroom to aid their daughter, the intruder attempted to quiet the girl with threats of knife point. Failing this, he released Whitley and raced down the stairs. After swapping his knife for the handgun in his pocket, he opened fire on the couple as they approached the stairwell. During his escape, the perpetrator left a few drops of his blood on the handrail, apparently the result of mishandling his knife. DNA from this bloodstain would later prove crucial in enabling the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office to solve the case. The investigation showed that with the bloodstains from the stairs, the North Carolina State Crime Laboratory produced a full DNA profile, presumably of the perpetrator, as it matched none of the friends or family who frequented the home, including Whitley, her brother, and her boyfriend at the time, John Alvarez. The DNA also did not match a profile in any DNA database, including CODIS. Without a database or suspect match, traditional forensic DNA analysis could only tell the investigators that the perpetrator was male. Running short of leads, investigators began collecting DNA samples from anyone thought to have been in or around the French home. We swabbed a lot of people, says Captain Tammy Howell of the RCSO. Early on, if there were a remote chance someone could have been connected to the crime, we asked for a swab. In the first 12 months following the crime, over 50 subjects consented to provide a DNA sample. None of the samples matched the perpetrator. After a year investigation, Rockingham County Sheriff Sam Page, fearful the case was going cold, employed funds from the U.S. Department of Justice Asset Forfeiture Program to pursue alternative forms of DNA testing. The first break in the case came when familial DNA testing performed at the University of North Texas revealed the possibility that the perpetrator might be related to John Alvarez, Whitney's boyfriend. Because traditional DNA testing is limited in its ability to detect all but the closest relationships, for example, parent-child, this report alone did not provide actionable information. Subsequently, scientists at the University of North Texas performed Y chromosome STR analysis, which tests whether two male DNA samples share a common paternal lineage. This analysis, however, showed that the perpetrator did not share a YSTR lineage with John Alvarez, seemingly eliminating John's father and brother as possible suspects. In February of 2015, after reading about the recent debut of the Parabon Snapshot DNA phenotyping service, Captain Howell contacted Parabon to explore the possibility of obtaining phenotyping analysis of the perpetrator's DNA. By April, samples were delivered to AICS Ogen, one of the genotyping labs that supports Parabon's unique brand of DNA analysis. Unlike traditional DNA crime labs, Exogen performs genotyping of single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNPs, pronounced SNPs, the millions of markers of the genome that collectively encode the genetic information that accounts for much of the trait differences in people. Starting with 30 ng of DNA, nanograms of DNA, Exogen used the Illumina CytoSNPs 850K chip to genotype over 850,000 SNPs from the sample, with an overall call rate of 98.9%. With the resulting SNPs genotype data, Parabon scientists used Snapshot to predict the perpetrator's likely appearance and ancestry. And on May 7th, 2015, Parabon briefed Captain Howell and Detective Marcus Marshall, lead investigator on the case, about the snapshot results for their sample. The subject's DNA indicated he had fair or very fair skin, brown or hazel eyes, dark hair, and a little evidence of freckling. Face morphology analysis suggested the subject had a wide facial structure and non-protruding nose and chin. Importantly, snapshot analysis indicated the subject had admixed ancestry, a roughly 50-50 combination of European and Latino ancestry, consistent with that observed in individuals with one European and one Latino parent. John Alvarez has such admixed ancestry, but DNA analysis had ruled him out as a suspect, and YSTR analysis indicated that the perpetrator did not share a paternal lineage with John. Nevertheless, the snapshot predictions for the case were highly consistent with John's brother, Jose Alvarez Jr. The snapshot ancestry analysis and phenotype predictions suggested we should not eliminate Jose as a suspect, despite the YSTR results, and said Detective Marshall, the likeness of the snapshot composite with his driver's license photograph is quite striking, and you can see that here. Within weeks of receiving the snapshot report, Detective Marshall requested a DNA sample from Jose Alvarez and his father, Jose Alvarez Sr. Both consented to be swabbed. Traditional DNA analysis proved beyond all doubt that the blood on the stairwell in the French home had come from Jose Alvarez Jr. It also showed to everyone's surprise that Jose Alvarez Sr. is not his biological father, which is why the YSTRs did not match. Jose Alvarez Jr. was arrested on August 25th, 2015 on 2 counts of capital murder. He later pled guilty to both murders, and on the 8th of July, 2016, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. This case highlights the limitations of traditional DNA analysis, as nearly all of the information needed to solve the case was present in the blood sample left at the scene, but without the RCSO's willingness to try new forensic DNA analysis like familial comparison, YSTR analysis, and DNA phenotyping, the perpetrator might never have been brought to justice. After the investigation, Captain Howell admitted she had been skeptical about DNA phenotyping at first. Nevertheless, with a case about to go cold and only DNA to go on, she and the department had decided that it was worth a shot. Now that I have seen Snapshot in action, says Howell, I am a believer. So, isn't that completely amazing? I mean, I was pretty amazed when I started reading some of these case results that they've had, and how they went about doing it. And the fact that this guy finds out, well, they find out not only is he the murderer, but they find out that his dad isn't his dad. I'm like, wow. I mean, that is just crazy to me. But I wanted to make sure that we went over that tonight because I just hear a lot of people throwing out big words and lots of scientific information to the general population, in this case, whether it be through YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and they act like they are experts. And I just want everyone to warn everyone, they're not experts. And you need to make sure that when you are listening and you're gaining information in this case and about this case, that you take it all in and please do research on your own. Don't just believe everything that is said to you on the internet. It's not always the truth. And there are people out here spreading wrong information. And I don't know what their end game is in this. I don't know why they would be doing that. I don't know what kind of agendas they have. But it's really wrong and it's detrimental to this case. And I can tell you that for sure. So hold on one second. I just want to remove this and go back here. So with that, like I said, with that being said, there are a number of topics that we could cover tonight. I wanted to definitely talk to you all about that one. I hope that you guys learned something about phenotyping and what that could mean ultimately in this case, especially when we're dealing with the fact that we have a subject that they didn't get good pictures of. They don't have a good photograph of him. I mean, even Doug Carter tells us, don't pay attention to the head, look at the body. And he's not speaking to me. He's not speaking to necessarily you. He's speaking to the individuals who are related and know who Bridge Guy is. Because we've talked about it before. When you watch him walk across that bridge, you know who that is. If you're related to him, you know that's your father. You know that's your brother or uncle or grandfather or friend next door or the guy that you work with it, wherever. So that's the point there, Yeah, that's true, country girl. It's you're true. I think it happens more often than we know. Sometimes they don't have enough. I think in this day and age, we hear the words DNA and everybody jumps to the conclusion that it's going to be solved. And there's a lot of things that go into DNA. And it has to be, it's gotten better over time that it doesn't need to be a pristine sample of blood from the perpetrator, but it has to be a pretty doggone good one. Now they're getting better and better all the time of using smaller and smaller samples of DNA. And so that's also coming about, and we're getting better as science moves on and science continues, to test and research. They're finding better ways to extract DNA. I mean, it's just amazing what they can do now. And I was watching a show a couple days ago on BTK. And one of the things that I thought was interesting about him, 1973, 74 is when he first murdered. And they were saying that one of the wonderful things about the investigators from even back that far is that they were wonderful at preserving all of the evidence, the hair evidence, the fiber evidence, the blood evidence. And, that's important in any crime, and any type of crime that you have to have good forensic technologists that are gathering evidence, and that the chain of custody of that evidence is kept intact as well. Because if you don't, then you have a big issue once you get to court, especially with chain of custody. That's one of the things that led to OJ's acquittal, was the chain of custody of his blood sample that was taken at his house on Rockingham that day. And one of the lead investigators carried it all over LA in his pocket instead of immediately taking it to the crime lab. And that led jurors to believe, since there was blood missing out of the vial, that it could have been planted. It's just things like that, mistakes you cannot make in cases like this. And my hope is that, because we're dealing with such a small county in a rural part of the country, Carroll County in Indiana, that they had good crime scene technicians that came in and processed that scene. I don't know for a fact that it was the FBI crime scene technicians that came, or if it was the ISP crime scene technicians. All I can hope is that whoever did it knew what they were doing, because it's really important aspect of any case, and I think we forget about it. So, what was one of the other things I was going to say? The other thing I wanted to hit on while everybody, we're talking about topics in Delphi. I know all of us have heard over the last month or two about a POI JP. I'm going to put this out here, that I think what happened to him was absolutely horrific. The fact that a man was brought onto a YouTube channel and so-called interviewed about being possibly bridge guy was malpractice at best. And I'm glad that he posted today, or I think it was yesterday, he made a post that he did take his so-called polygraph and that he wants to be left alone. He is not, or never has been, bridge guy, and he's not a murderer. And we need to leave that man alone. We are not law enforcement. We are not investigators here. The people that are pretending to be, they need to go find another day job, because I'm so tired of it. I'm just tired of people talking about, well, we can help the police because, they're not capable. We can really help them out here. It's crazy to me. And so there you are with that. That's my rant for the evening, you guys. It just really upsets me. One of the other things that I wanted to say, I don't know if you heard, it happened on Friday last week, but Kagan Klein's grandfather passed away. He is also Jerry Anthony Klein. So if you hear that he has died, it is the grandfather. It is not Tony Klein, Kagan's father. I know that was put out in a Facebook group. I saw the post where the owner of that Facebook group put out there that Tony Klein died, and I was just shaking my head going, are you kidding me? So I want to make sure everybody knows that. I was talking with True Crime Maria this morning, and I said, why do people not fact check before they go put things out on social media? How hard is it to Google? We all know how to do it. I mean, come on, And, Tech, I I was wondering about that. I don't know. He was 72 years old, so anything's possible. I don't know if he had health issues or whatever, but I feel bad for the grandmother who's still alive. Can you imagine the poor stress that woman's going through with everything going on with her family right now? So, you know, that's exactly what we do. We talk about this case for awareness. We report on facts. We report on anything new. I'm not against people talking about what they might think happened or whatever, as long as we're not doxing people and throwing people under the bus that are innocent. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. Seriously. I'm just, what? Grizz, are you okay out there? Where are you? Just so everybody knows, if you were here early and you saw my intro, or if you've seen my intro in the last few days, my new one, I just want to give my shout outs to Grizzmaticaly Clever. He did my graphics for that intro, and Tech Death Hippie did my music for that intro. And I know the other night there was a lot of people commenting on the music. In fact, one person said, "Is that Tech Death's music?" They knew it. They knew his music. And it was and is. And I thank both of them because I love it. So when Grizz comes back, will you please find out from him if he's okay? I worry that somebody's shooting at him. So does anybody have anything they want to say about any of the topics we were talking about tonight? Or is there a topic that you want to cover or talk about? Hey, Donald Spain. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Hi, Sammy. I think the music's really good too. I love it. He is extremely, there he is, and he is extremely talented. Certainly is. So yeah, you can subscribe to him and hear all of his great music. Hello, Melissa. Thank you for joining. Hey, Alicia. How are you? I didn't see you come in. I missed you. It's good to see you here. Annie, how are you doing this evening? How are you feeling? That's nice, Bruce. That's a good thing to ask him. Hey, AJ, how are you? Did you get some rest? What time is it over there? What time is it for you? Well, he didn't grant it on a Saturday. The continuance was filed and asked for on Thursday, February 10th. That's if you're talking about Kagan. And that is when he continued it or asked it for it to be continued. That was when it was filed. Tomorrow, Friday, the 24th, wait, today's the 22nd. Thursday, the 24th, he was supposed to be in court for his pretrial hearing, but they went ahead today and continued everything until September. Okay. AJ, I know I have a relative who lives in Sydney, and so I always forget the time difference. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. I know it's tomorrow there, so. Oh, thank you, Alicia. I'm trying. I'm trying to stay the course and educate and, put out some content that um, isn't so much shock value, but more educational is what, and really brings people that are brand new to Abby and Libby's case to help them get a foothold and at least have truthful and honest information out there, because it's so easy for people to end up in rabbit holes of junk, I guess, so to speak. And that's worrisome and bothersome to me. So I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who um, is still staying dedicated to this case. There's so much negativity. It's one of the things that I found, and I knew when I made my video about Kelsey and about victim blaming that I was going to take heat for that. I know that there is a ton of people out there that are on that bandwagon and are hi Robert Snedden, good to see you. Um he said he's 100% with me on the would like to be expert YouTubers causing more harm than good, trying to get their subscribers up. It is scandalous. It's terrible. They're doing this on the backs of two dead little girls, and I just don't know how they go to sleep at night and feel good about it. I just don't. And I've said it before, I'm not here for subscribers. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful that there are people out there that want to listen to what I have to say. And I am thankful for that. But that's not the whole reason that I'm here. And granted, if you're going to have a voice and a platform, the more people that you can share it with, the better. So all I can say to everyone is that if you like my content and you like what I'm saying and what the work that I'm trying to do around the case, to just share it wherever. And especially the videos about Kelsey and the family. Those are the ones that are the most important, because we need to stop this god-awful movement that's going around social media that's attacking them every chance they get. I was absolutely amazed because when I was looking at my videos this morning and looking to see between the likes and the dislikes, most of my videos are all right now going about between 94 to 100% people like them. Well, the video about Kelsey, when I looked the last time, was like at 88%. So that tells you right there that there's people out there that don't like what I'm saying about the family, because they believe the family's guilty. And I just don't know how they can possibly think that with everything we've been told and everything that's gone on with law enforcement. It's just like people don't even bother to listen to them. Do we have that big of a fear and a honest taste about law enforcement in this country? I just, it just surprises me. I just don't understand it. On the court docs, it says it was granted on the 19th. It was put in this morning sometime after 9, because I checked at 8:15 and then again after 9, and it was there. Well, all I know is that on my case, state of Indiana, which is what I was showing on my screen with you guys in the very beginning of the live, it shows that it was put in this morning on the 22nd. So I don't know. The last thing on my case before the 10th for the motion for continuance was in December, and there wasn't anything else. You're right. I see it. The order was granted on the 19th, but they didn't schedule the hearings until this morning. So they granted the continuance on the 19th of February. So you're right, Alicia. Thank you so much for pointing that out so that we get that information out correctly. But yes, it was granted on the 19th. And then today is when they scheduled the pretrial hearing and the actual trial. Bruce, I have no idea. I don't know why people blame them, call them liars, and don't trust the police. I have no idea. Well, it's the truth. I mean, I was like absolutely shocked, but at the same time, not really, because of the number of people that that are, floating that narrative all over YouTube and Facebook and Reddit, for that matter. So when you said Saturday, because you're thinking the 19th, it very well could be because of COVID, Alicia, that they're doing some work on Saturdays, maybe half days or something, because they're so backlogged. I don't think it's unusual at all. Hi, Modern Crime and Cards. It's good to have you here. I always like to see new faces in the chat because I like reaching people that I've not really seen in the chats before. Being the fact that I have a lot of Graz supporters in my channel. I see a lot of people coming in that I've never seen before, so that's always uplifting to me. But I was gonna show, hold on one second. I want to share video. I wanted to play one other thing for you guys again. I just thought it would be a good thing for us to watch. We're not going to probably play the whole thing because it's 42 minutes long, but I do want to.
Three words that have haunted a small town for 5 years.
So this is a video that came out on, hold on a second, News Nation, and it's a special that they did on the Delphi murders. So I'm just going to play it for a little bit, and I thought that it was pretty decently done, and it's something different. So here we go. Oh, am I lagging? Let me remove it and start it again. Hang on, guys. Sorry. There you are. Where are you? Where did you go?
Three words that have haunted a small town for 5 years.
It's Everytown, USA. And those things don't happen in Everytown, USA. But it happened in Delphi, Indiana.
A chilling discovery.
Why Libby? Why Abby?
That turned a safe haven into a crime scene.
I don't think you have to be embarrassed if you're scared right now. A lot of people in town are scared.
Tonight, a case the world refuses to give up on.
We told each other we loved each other, and that was the last time I saw her.
Following every lead.
I still get probably 25 and 40 direct tips a week right here, literally from around the world.
And every clue.
On the surface, it appears like the police have a lot, right?
Trying to unlock the mystery.
And yet here we are 5 years later.
Fit the pieces together.
We have hope.
Together, we'll get this guy.
Solve the unsolved.
We must keep our resolve for Libby and Abby to ensure that good trumps evil.
And catch a killer.
They're watching. And we'll meet them soon. We'll meet them.
A special edition of News Nation Prime starts right now.
Live from News Nation headquarters, this is News Nation Prime with Marnie Hughes.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Marnie Hughes. Tonight, we are bringing you a special hour of News Nation Prime. Over the course of the next hour, we are focusing on this one unsolved case that has gripped the country and the world for 5 years. It centers around the small town of Delphi, Indiana, located a little more than a half an hour north of Indianapolis. Two young girls, best friends, Abby Williams and Libby German, 13 and 14 years old, a popular hiking trail when they were brutally murdered. Their bodies found 5 years ago today, on Valentine's Day. From the very beginning, authorities have said this case can and will be solved. They have video and audio of the killer, but this person is still out there, living among us. Someone, somewhere, knows something. Tonight, we are taking you back to Delphi, laying out the case, what we have learned over the last 5 years. Investigators say this case is not cold, and they are still getting up to 40 tips a week. One of the people leading the investigation, Doug Carter, the superintendent of Indiana State Police, will be joining us for a live, rare interview. But our coverage begins now with investigative correspondent Rich McHugh.
Delphi, Indiana. Population 3,000, nestled among a network of parks and wilderness trails, is like many Midwestern towns, quiet and peaceful. But 5 years ago, that peace was shattered. 13-year-old Abby Williams.
It's a scarf.
No.
It's just pink.
And 14-year-old Libby German.
The Hershey kisses into this iced coffee and make it coffee kiss.
Best friends and your typical happy-go-lucky 8th graders. On the afternoon of February 13, 2017, Libby asked her older sister Kelsey to drive them to the nature trails.
So they just got out of the car and walked down the trail to go to High Bridge. We told each other we loved each other, and that was the last time I saw her.
At approximately 2:05 p.m., Libby posts to Snapchat this picture of the Monon High Bridge. At 2:07, she posts this picture of Abby walking across the bridge. It was the last correspondence from either of them. Hours passed, nearing dark, and nobody could reach the girls.
So we knew something wasn't quite right. So we said, you know what, we're all going to go to the trails and look too.
Searched along, the hillside and in and around the High Bridge area where they'd been dropped off. And that led to the wee early hours. I come home, I grabbed a couple hours, was back down there at daylight. There was hundreds and hundreds of people that showed up, volunteering to come put them into a search party and let them go.
I looked up and the coroner's van come driving by, and that's when it hit me that they weren't found alive.
Authorities found Abby and Libby in a wooded area a half-mile upstream from the bridge. The girls had been murdered.
What does that do to you as a mother?
There's no words for it.
It affects us hard, as a family. I didn't sleep for a long time.
You worry about them dating and driving and going to college, not going out for a walk on a beautiful February afternoon.
Why Libby? Why Abby? Somebody knows. And if you're watching, we'll find you.
Authorities released this picture taken on Libby's phone and this chilling audio recorded on Libby's phone. Guys, down the hill.
To hear that person's voice, it's creepy.
Kind of puts chills down your spine.
And they released a sketch of the suspect.
It sucks knowing that, he's still out there.
A lot of people in town are scared.
The FBI joined the investigation.
Our investment in that investigation has been and continues to be significant.
But after 1 year, no arrests.
Until there's somebody arrested, we're interested in almost everybody.
2 years after the murders, police released this video of the man, taken by Libby, walking toward them on the bridge. And they released a second sketch of a much younger man. State police saying the case had shifted in a new direction and that the suspect is between the ages of 18 and 40.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you.
But 2 more years passed without an arrest. Then, last month, another twist in the case. Police appealed for tips about a person tied to a social media account with the name Anthony Shots. They say the man behind the account, Kagan Klein, was using images of a known male model to catfish young girls into sending nude photos in their home address. Klein was arrested, charged with child solicitation and pornography in unrelated cases. And they asked anyone who ever communicated with the fake online account to come forward.
He may have shared inadvertently or intentionally some personal information that could be valuable.
Police say the fake online accounts were active in 2016 and 2017, around the time when Libby and Abby were murdered. But they will not confirm whether Libby and Abby communicated with this profile.
Do you think it's possible that your sister and Abby were communicating with this account?
I think that the account is definitely important and that we have to keep sharing it and putting it out there because for whatever reason, law enforcement thinks it's important.
Do you think the authorities are close?
I have to hope so.
So, guys, did you hear what Kelsey said there when she said that law enforcement thinks the Anthony Shots profile is important to this case? That's what we have to go on, is what law enforcement tells us, not what people in chats tell us or people that say law enforcement doesn't know what they're doing or whatever. I do not believe for 1 second that the FBI would allow law enforcement, meaning Carroll County and ISP, to come out on a Saturday night, or excuse me, a Monday night, and drop that bombshell if there was not some strategic reason why they did it. So rest assured they know what they're doing, and we need to hang tight and keep the faith, if nothing else. I think my my internet is lagging tonight for some reason. It never lags, so I don't know what the heck's going on there. But we saw a good portion of it. I don't really want to spend the whole 45 minutes. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I thought it was a really well done one. I love the fact that Doug Carter is so positive in it. And I agree with her 100%. Alicia, you're right. They're not going to tie these together if there's no connection. There would have been no reason. They wouldn't have used Abby and Libby's tip line if it was not in regards to Abby and Libby. So, and I agree about Anna. It just breaks my heart every time I see her in front of a camera. She is such a wonderful person, and she lost her absolute best friend, and it's just heart-wrenching. Welcome back, Bruce. I didn't know where you went, but I'm glad you're back. Oops-a-daisy, welcome. Good to see you. We need to make sure that we follow that lead. Family and law enforcement wants us to continue to push the Anthony Schatz profile the best we can so that we can get more tips in for them about this case. They need that information from us. That's the help that they've asked for. Not for us to go out and dissect the images from the sketches, not to sit on live streams and tell people that we're law enforcement and we know better. That's what law enforcement has asked us to do. They've asked us to push the Anthony Schatz profile, use whatever platform we have, talk about it, and get it out there so that more people hear about it, and it might jog a memory. Even though it happened 5 years ago, I guarantee you, if some young girl was being stalked or talked to online by a profile, she may remember it. So it's important that we try to get those connections and help. I know that like you said, there's a lot of misinformation flying around, and I think we just have to get back in the groove of following what law enforcement has asked us to do, and then let them do their work. And if you do have any information, please make sure that you tip it in before you ever think about putting it out on social media. Social media is not where you should announce that you have all this information that somebody might possibly be a suspect or a person of interest. That should never be brought here. That's not where this information should ever fall. It's very detrimental to the case. And we all want Bridge Guy caught, and we want him successfully prosecuted. At least I know I do, and I know that the majority of all the people that I come in contact do. They want the same thing. So I do know that there's people out there that see the reward money and think that there's some kind of super sleuth that may be able to solve this case and get the reward. But that's not going to happen here either. I just don't believe it. But I do believe that that's what's going on. Trust me. I believe that there's people out here that specifically are trying to do whatever they can so they can get a reward money. And it's perplexing. I can tell you that. And it's also very frustrating for all of us who are trying to do good content, to keep the word out about the girls and do the stories about the girls to keep them alive in everyone's hearts and minds. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Who's your girl? What is she talking about? What's going on? Who's your girl? Who is they? They wanted who's your girl says I don't know. They wanted me to know they know who I am, I guess. I accused them of being JP or GH or his crew. Calls ended. Who is they? What's been happening? Oh, you've been getting harassing phone calls? Whew. That's scary. Well, Sling and Lead, I'm not going to say that I've not been down a couple of rabbit holes in the last 5 years, because that would make me too perfect. But I will tell you that I really try to stay within the realm of what's possible. And because there's probably a lot of things that are that can fit into a scenario in this case, but not everything is going to be probable. So that's where that's at with me. The other thing that I wanted to talk about as well with the case is the fact that we're all being I don't know, I don't even want to say if I could say harassing, but I think it's, if you're having, I think some of us have had issues on here. Who's your girl? I'm going to say on YouTube, especially. I know people that have had problems on Facebook and Reddit. If you're having issues and somebody has obtained your phone number and they're actually calling you and harassing you, I would turn that in. I would call law enforcement and turn that in. Just because I don't know who these people are and why they think they can terrorize people. But it's wrong, and we have to stand up and do something about it. Laura says, for your information, anybody going to the trails, Deer Creek anytime soon? We had snow melt and a lot of rain and more snow and heavy rain in the forecast. Map shows Deer Creek about flood stage. Everything's wet. Good to know for anybody that was thinking about going out there. I hope it clears up before Randy's memorial walk, which I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think it's the 24th of March. It's either the 24th. Hold on. Let me look at my dates here. Hold on one second. The 26th. It's March 26th. Is Randy Gravitt is holding his annual memorial walk for the girls at the trail. So let's hope things clear up before then and it gets to be a much nicer time of year for us. I'm here in Central Illinois, and we've had the craziest weather in the last 10 days. We had over 12 inches of snow, and today it rained. Yesterday, last night about midnight, and all day today it rained, and our snow is almost completely gone. So there you go. And now we're supposed to get more snow tomorrow. So the weather can't decide what it wants to do. Thanks, Alicia, for verifying. It is March 26th. It's a Saturday. And thanks, Laura, for letting us know that, because that's important. I know that there's a lot of people that like to go there and do those. He holds those a couple times a year. I think it's a wonderful thing that he does to remember them. So it's it's quite scary to think that we've got people out there that are still harassing people online. It's very scary. Yeah, Annie, I know it was 54 degrees here today, and then when the sun went down, it quickly dropped by 30 degrees, and right now it's 20 degrees outside. So, yeah, it's like you don't know how to dress, and it's crazy. Let's see. Why do you think this case more than others attracts some of the most toxic out of the true crime community? You know, Oops-a-daisy, I wish I had that answer for you. I know that Graz told me I never got involved in the Summer Wells case. Obviously, I followed it in the news, but I've never gotten into any of the chats or any of the groups or anything for her. But I've heard that that is a horrible, toxic environment over there. And I don't understand why true crime actually draws that. I guess I would just have to say that I think that there's a percentage of the population that has nothing better to do than to cause havoc, and they like to see people hurting. They like to manipulate people. They like to earn people's trust only to hurt them. Those people exist out there, and it's scary. And online, you have to be extremely, extremely careful, and especially as a woman. I think that women are so vulnerable online because a lot of us are super trusting, and so they don't think about things, and they make friends, and all of a sudden they think, oh, this person is my friend, but they may not really know who's behind that keyboard. They don't know who that person is that's presenting themselves to you. So you have to be extremely careful, because predators are all around us and amongst us. And sometimes they're the ones that are the friendliest and most helpful and have the sweetest voices and the kindest demeanor. And then all of a sudden they can turn on you, and man, you were like, what the heck was that? So that's what I can say to you on that one. RJ, was it that cold for you? Oh my goodness. That is, I'm glad it's not that cold here yet, but I know we're going to get snow. So I've had my share. I think they said we're something like 12 or 15 inches over our quota for the year, or for norm for the year. And we still have another month of winter to go. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Matthew, you're exactly right. Wolves in sheep's clothing. Couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, you got to be really careful. Yeah, Oops-a-daisy. Graz told me that it gets so toxic over there, and I just decided, I have enough toxic to deal with Delphi. I don't really need toxic on top of toxic. It's not good for us emotionally. I deal enough with it on Reddit every day, so I don't, plus here. So yeah, it's like, no, I want to keep the good vibes going if possible. But well, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I want to tell you that I had a really a good evening with you all, and I hope that when we talked about in the beginning, everybody takes to heart and listens to, because it's really important. I'm so glad that you all come to listen to me. I mean, I never thought in my wildest days that anyone would care what I had to think. So yeah, I appreciate everyone who comes and listens, and you all contribute. You all have great insights, and I think that's important. RJ, thank you. You're always so kind. And I like your perspective as well. You have a very good perspective, and I like it. Hey, Tech Def, I know you stayed up for this show for me. And I'm so glad you did. But yeah, you know, Alicia, thank you so much for stopping in, and of course, I'm glad to do it. I want Bridge Guy caught more than anything, and I want justice for Abby and Libby, and I want justice for the families. And I'm just going to say here before I go, we all should not forget that Carrie Timmons is Libby's mother, and she is hurting too. And I know that a lot of people don't talk about Carrie very much, but she's always in my mind, and I'm always thinking about her. And I think that everyone should remember her as well. So keep her in your prayers when you're thinking about this case. Country Girl, thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate all of you. Annie, thank you so much for being here. And you are always amazing, my dear, as well. And I will talk to you guys all later. And be safe out there as always. Thank you. Susie, I didn't see you. I didn't know you were here. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I got to see you. Susie, thank you. You guys take care, okay? I'll talk to you all later.